Brenda Corral-Smith, Director of Bands, Waltrip High School. My first experience with the band, to be honest with you, was before even getting to high school. So my sister comes to Waltrip in the band program. She is a saxophone player, plays bass in the jazz ensemble, is also a section leader. And so obviously I was hanging out with her quite a lot. And that was my first exposure to the Waltrip band. First year coming in, I was a trumpet player. Sophomore year, played the same stuff, still hadn't touched a saxophone. I tried out for an officer position and became an assistant librarian. Junior year, I'm starting to get a little more serious about music. I'm still playing trumpet. I'm playing French horn, baritone, but that's around the time that I get my braces on. Mom says I have to have braces, and let me tell you, everything that I had worked for, as far as a trumpet, I couldn't play. So that summer, I started to pick up the saxophone with the help of my sister and others in band, and I just kind of, and then it didn't help that, the one guy that I kind of was interested in back then, who's also a band director now, was a saxophone player. So that kind of helped also, by the way. And so that summer I picked up saxophone. Here goes into, senior year, and I try out again. So junior year, I became the head librarian. I was also a section leader for the trumpet section during marching season, and obviously throughout the whole year. And then here comes senior year, and I auditioned again, not thinking that I was really gonna make a higher position, and I was fine with that. But I actually make the reserve drum major position at Waltrip High School, but this time coming in also as a saxophone player. So it's crazy how things happen, right? Trumpet player this whole time, and I practiced my butt off, and I'm playing the lead chair in the jazz ensemble, the top jazz ensemble at Waltrip, and I'm also playing the solo. I'm the soloist for the marching band. So if you look at those videos from '96, you see, where, I'm playing at the beginning, and when the show ends, I'm conducting. So I was able, and I was lucky to just experience all of it at one time, and that kind of opened the doors for a future in education. So graduated from college. My brother is involved in this salsa group called Caliente at MacArthur High School, which is my into MacArthur High School at that point. I didn't really struggle finding a job right after I graduated from college. So I stepped in there as an assistant band director at MacArthur High School. Shortly after that, 2 years later, I ended up going to Sam Houston High School, and I'm there for about a semester, and then leave from there and end up finishing my year here at Waltrip High School. I finished my year here at Waltrip, and it kind of bought me some time to really figure out where I should be going. But I think at that point, when I came back to Waltrip that year, it kind of solidified where I should be and what I should be doing. And so I go to Sharpstown. I'm there for 9 years. Had a great time, met a lot of people, established myself in the community. And then shortly after that, the Sharpstown High School became an Apollo school. And I went through all that, I experienced all that. And one of my friends, an administrator, moved on and went to 6A high school, LSEC High School, and said, hey, when there's an opening, I'm coming for you. And a lot of people say that all the time, so I didn't necessarily think he was, and he did. He came back through the back door of the band room and asked me if I was willing or was I interested in going to LSEC High School, and didn't think I was going to be there 8 years, so I stayed there. And then at the very end of that, I find out that at a dinner that the band director from Waltrip is leaving. And maybe there was an interest from somebody that I should come over here and take over at Waltrip High School. And it's happened so fast. I think it was like a week, maybe a week or a week and a half. We went from jokingly talking about Waltrip, my assistant and I, to actually interviewing for the job at Waltrip. And so here we are today at Waltrip High School.
Johnny Olivares, Assistant Band Director at Waltrip High School.
Johnny Olivares, student taught with my husband, who's the band director at Black Middle School. And he did his time there, he student taught there, and through our conversations at home, I would ask him about Johnny Olivares, who graduated from Waltrip High School also.
I joined a band in 2008 when I was a freshman. And then from my freshman year, one of my first thoughts when I first joined a band was it was a really big change from middle school and going into high school. My sophomore year, I didn't hold any officer positions, but I was always around helping out where I could. And then my junior year is when I first held my first officer position. I was the assistant trumpet section leader and an equipment manager as well. And then my senior year, I was given the opportunity to be the head field captain, which was, generally the person that's in charge of all the marching aspects of the marching band, such as the visual aspects, making sure the drill is being clean and things like that. And then on top of that, I was also the head section leader for the trumpets and in charge of the brass. And it was a really great experience for me because overall, most of my years I got spending with my section, but my senior year was really the year where I got to really, kind of work more with the full ensemble and the brass with the brass, and really kind of pushed me into like what I wanted to do in the future as a career.
I didn't want to come to Waltrip again by myself. It's hard to start over a program. It's even harder to start without a team that backs you up, that understands you, understands your thoughts. They're like the eyes behind your back, and they support you fully. And so when I came to interview at Waltrip, I told them that I wanted to bring my assistant. That's the only way that I would come to Waltrip. And I'm not so sure what happened, but they ended up interviewing Johnny Olivares for the assistant position here at Waltrip. So we were able to come here as a team, which is unheard of.
We never really thought about that we would come back to Waltrip, and the opportunity presented itself where the job opened up, where the head director and assistant opened up. So we were both able to go together as a team. And, working 3 years together, we worked really well together, and, we said, let's go for it. So we moved together as a team and we came down to Waltrip.
And so we were working really hard in building the numbers. And then one of our band directors got another opportunity down the street at one of the feeder middle schools, and he took the job. And it was close to that when I find out they're going to keep their position. And so down the street at Farmville Middle School is a person that I know. I've been knowing him for a long time. Actually, he was a student here at Waltrip High School when I came to teach that 1 year. Okay. And then after that, I remember him working at Fondren Middle School. So he was there for a while. And so when I get to LSIC, that's the first time that he's an arranger. He writes for me. So I worked with him for a year, and that went very well. And so that was my introduction really to working with him, not as a student, a young student, but now as an adult after college. And so after that, he came to Farmville. He was there for 6 years, I believe. And I thought, well, let's give him a call. I heard that he wouldn't take the job, or maybe that somebody might have asked him before and it was like, no. And so that maybe I should start looking somewhere else, and so I decided not to do that. I was like, no, I'm gonna ask. Sometimes you just get this gut feeling that, and I think now I think about it, and if he would have said no, I think I would have still pushed the buttons a little bit more. Because sometimes you get a gut that there's something in a person, and some people just belong together.
Jeremy Diggs, Assistant Band Director, Waltrip High School. I joined the Ram Band in 2003. I was coming from Clifton Middle School, and at that time the band program had been pretty inconsistent, so I was looking for some consistency. So when I stepped in the door, I was automatically impressed by all of the people that were there doing the same thing, screaming their vocals. I was impressed by the section leaders and the top officers that made all of these new moves and all of these new songs look so easy. So that's what I wanted to do. So into sophomore year, I joined the 2nd Jazz Ensemble. Junior year, I became a reserve section leader and I joined the top jazz band. Senior year, I achieved my ultimate goal. I became head section leader of the saxophones. I was still in Jazz 1, and I was also the head field captain, which was the position, the top position on the field, meaning you were teaching marching fundamentals, you were teaching visual aspects, you had a lot on your plate. And I had a great senior year. And I left the Ram Band and graduated, and I thought I was done. And as a lot of seniors do, me and another friend decided to come back for the summer just to visit the band, just to see what was going on. And the director said, hey, you guys, since you guys are both in Houston, you're not going to Texas State anymore. You're going to be at U of H. Why don't you guys come volunteer and be another set of eyes for us on the field? And after a lot of hesitation, we decided to accept that offer. And one season of volunteering as a marching tech led to 5 years that I was working on the staff here at Waltrip. When Mr. Stevens announced that he was retiring, it just so happened to be my last year of college. So I said, hey, this is the perfect time for me to leave. So I departed the Ram Band. And truthfully, I was content on being a middle school band director for the rest of my career. I was ready to dig my roots down and, continue with my creation over at Fonville until Mrs. Smith walked into my band room and, shocked me.
When I went to Fonville and I spoke to him about it, he didn't know I was there for that. I'm not so sure what he thought. Maybe just to talk to the kids. Yeah, that's what it was. He thought I was there to talk to the kids about my mini camp, which I was though. I did talk to the kids about mini camp. And so I asked him about it and he seemed torn, but I wasn't sure why he was torn. I was like,
it took a lot of consideration. And I ultimately made the choice, what I think was the correct choice, of coming back home to Waltrip and for the third time, to start my third tenure with the Ram Band, and this time as assistant band director. And that was my ultimate goal when I was a senior in this band. That was my goal when I worked on the staff in this band. So now to be living that dream, it's crazy.
Now that I'm back at Waltrip, I'm really excited to, give back to the organization that gave so much to me, meaning that helping them push them to that next level, if it meaning honor band, Midwest, or state marching contest, and maintaining the legacy that Mr. Stevens provided to Waltrip Ram Band, but also pushing it to that next level where it needs to be.
I'm excited to be part of helping rebuild the band, keeping the legacy going, and, showing these students that they matter and that they're important and that there are a lot of people out in the community that want to see them and want to hear them and that are rooting for them.
I just want to remind people that the band program's still here. It's going nowhere, It is still the strongest, one of the strongest programs in HIZ. We're going to come in this year, we're going to come in super strong, okay? The kids are focused, the band directors are focused. We want our students to do well. Okay, so it's about to be a war out there of musicians. We're going to do amazing things, and it's going to be a Ram revolution.